Hey y'all, it's Siobhan Muir. So one of the biggest requests for me to do a reading this time was from the Bad Boys of Beta Squad. And this happens to be book number 2, RIMSHOT'S Hard Target. And it's also, the first time I wrote this, I was actually invited by Kat Johnson to be part of her Kindle world, her Hot Seal Kindle world. And so I actually wrote this one specifically for her world. And then, of course, she allowed me to keep some of the references in once I published it on my own. But because it is a Bad Boys of Beta Squad, I will. I'm going to read a little bit of the second chapter to kind of get you oriented on what what this is and that sort of thing. And yeah, I think I was just gonna do that. All right. So after no further ado, here's RIMSHOT'S Hard Target, a military romantic suspense. Oh, RIMSHOT, Chief Petty Officer Kevin Stanton, is a sniper, and he is going to meet with Jamie Henson, who happens to be a personal investigator, a private investigator who looks specifically for missing people because her sister's missing, and so she's been looking for other people's family members so that they can get the closure she cannot. My father is former Senator William Stanton of Kentucky and was on several committees dealing with the security and protection of this country. He had many groups for his use at his disposal. The chief shrugged. He called in a unit called, she swore he almost rolled his eyes, Snafu. Jamie blinked. Snafu? Supernatural Anomalies Investigative Field Unit. She swallowed a laugh. That's quite a mouthful. She wrote it down along with its acronym. This unit really exists? It's not something you're making up to get a date with me? Stanton cracked a half smile that curled Jamie's toes. Well, I did want to see you again, Miss Henson. I'm not making this up. You won't find Snafu in the casual ways, but I know it's a real unit. The public has been kept in the dark about it because of their missions. The supernatural. Yeah. Jamie couldn't hold back her laugh. Come on. Vampires, werewolves, little green men, Area 51. Are you saying it's all real? No, I'm saying there's a unit specifically charged with investigating supernatural anomalies, and they are the ones sent in to find my sister. She shrugged. Okay. And they've had no luck? Nope. Worse, 2 members of the squad went missing as well. Jamie raised an eyebrow. How do you know this? Were you there? Stanton shook his head. No, I've been here in Coronado with my squad. At the time of Bethany's disappearance, I was on a mission. But I still have friends in the groundskeepers and stables of the estate, and they told me what happened. Jamie wrote notes. Do you have any names of the soldiers who went missing, or of their commanding officer? Maybe I can get some other information about Bethany from them. Stanton frowned. Here's the thing. The commanding officer was one of the ones gone missing. I think his name was McMacken. That's what the stable hand said. One of the missing did come back, a woman named Bryant, but she was whisked away pretty damn quick for debriefing. I don't know any of the other names. What were they there to do other than find your sister? When the chief raised his eyebrows, she shrugged. There had to be something going on because what is so supernatural about one young woman going missing? Obviously, there was some reason to bring in Snafu. Stanton lapsed into intense, thoughtful silence, and Jamie tried to ignore how sexy it made him. He put all his energies into whatever he did, and when it came to thinking, the intensity ramped up. God, why didn't I go home with him after Chris's wedding? He abruptly raised his gaze and swung it around the cafe as if looking for those who might be listening in. The hair on her arms rose in visceral awareness, and she resisted the urge to smooth them down. How about we take a walk along the pier? It's pretty nice today. He rose and shoved his arms into his leather jacket. He stood by her chair, waiting for her to comply. It wasn't nice out. It was windy as hell, with winter bite in the air. But something about his secretiveness made her curious. What did he not want others to hear? She stood and followed him out into the windy morning. Fortunately, the sun took some of the chill out of the day, and enthusiasm of the college kids still on winter break was catching. In the sun, the ships moored at the pier carried a majesty she'd never tired of, and she let the small joys of the day lift some of her attention, but none of her curiosity. Stanton led her to a bench set on the boardwalk under the shadows of some coconut palms, facing the moored battleships. He settled onto it, crossed his legs, and reclined at an apparent ease with everything. But Jamie didn't buy it. He'd shaded his eyes with dark sunglasses, but she suspected he still scanned everywhere for listeners. Jamie was determined to wait for a sign they'd arrived at some oral safe haven, and sat down beside him, closing her eyes and inhaling the salty air. The wind blew her hair around, but she'd given up caring. At this point, her hair was the least of her concerns. The snafu was brought in because there was something weird happening on the grounds of the estate. Stanton's voice sounded casual, like they were discussing the dimensions of the ships in front of them, but his words set her heart to fluttering. Weird? Was? Yeah, things cleared up after the missing soldier came back. Jamie shot him a flat look. That's kind of convenient, isn't it? Stanton gave a one-shouldered shrug. Not really. None of the staff knew what was going on, but the members of Snafu have disappeared and Bethany's still missing. And whatever brought the unit to the estate is gone. I'd say that's damn inconvenient. Jamie heaved a sigh. I don't know if I can help you. If something supernatural happened to your sister, I'm not sure I'll be any help in finding her. I don't do magic or X-Files stuff. I can find people in this world, but if there's something else going on, I got nothing. For just a moment, Stanton's expression resembled William Wallace's when he discovered Robert the Bruce was on the side of Edward Longshanks in the movie Braveheart. But his jaw hardened and his shoulders squared as he sat forward, bracing his elbows on his knees. So you won't help me? I didn't say that, Chief. Jamie tried to push aside the feeling she'd already let this man down. Assuming for a moment that your sister really did go somewhere beyond this world, and that's a huge assumption, I don't have any contacts who'd know anything about that. You'd probably have better luck trying to contact the snafu. He snorted in derision and she nodded. Yeah, snowball's chance in hell, I get that. A rueful smile quirked his lips and part of her danced an inner jig. I made him smile. But if there's a chance she came back, like the missing soldier did, and she currently resides somewhere in this country or world, I can probably find her. She blinked and shook her head. That sounds so crazy. Hypothetically speaking, do you really think there's a chance where there's something out of Harry Potter going on here? Stanton rubbed the back of his neck with one hand. That's the thing, Miss Henson. I deal with facts and intel and provable events, but I've been special warfare operator for a long time, and I've seen stuff I didn't think existed before I saw it. Not dragons or unicorns or anything like that, but weird stuff. If there's anything Harry Potter going on, Bethany's screwed. But I gotta believe she's somewhere here in our world. The powers that be just haven't looked hard enough. He lifted his glasses and met her gaze earnestly. I need someone who can think outside the box, be smarter than the average bear to find my sister. Do you think you can do that, Miss Henson? Jamie bit her tongue before she blurted anything stupid. Think. You can't promise him success no matter how sexy he is. But she wanted to. She wanted to give him hope that success was no more than an in-depth search away. Tell you what, Chief. We'll go on the premise that she's here in our world, and the magic and mythical have no play in this. Are you listening to yourself? You're insane. I'll do what I can and chase down any leads or avenues I can find, and I'll keep you updated on any progress I make. He nodded, and she held up one finger. But I need your word that you'll let me know anything you find that might help. I understand you know secrets I can't know as a civilian, but anything you find out about your sister or the snafu would help my efforts. Deal? Stanton held out a hand. Deal, Miss Henson. How much do you charge for your services? Usually I charge 10 grand and you get 3 months of in-depth research and effort of my time. His face turned to solid marble for all it moved. She suspected she was a bit rich for his blood. But since you're in the active military, I'll give you a discount of 40% off my usual expenses. She tipped her head. You'll still get at least 3 months of my time and efforts, but on a portion of the cost. He stared at her a long time without saying anything, and she wondered what she thought of both her normal costs and the discount. She didn't want to insult him either way, but this was her business and her career. She was damn good at what she did and worth the expenses. And some part of her wanted him to be impressed with her efforts. Will you be taking other jobs during that time? If something comes up, she shrugged. But as of right now, I'm between jobs. So you'll have no other income than what I pay you. She shrugged again. Yep, that's right. Stanton dipped his chin to his chest and his jaw tightened. Tell you what, why don't I pay you $3,500 a month for each month you search for Bethany? That way you get paid your normal fees for the work, and I can still afford groceries. So, not a trust fund, baby. Jamie tilted her head. Are you sure? You're active military, and I know the pay isn't astronomical. You're right, it's not, but I'm sure. This is important. Family is important. He heaved a big sigh that made his broad shoulders stretch his t-shirt, and her nipples hardened at the thought of those lovely muscles. Bethany's really all the family I have. What about your father, Senator Stanton? The chief shook his head. He lost his last bid for re-election when my sister went missing, and he wrote me off years ago when I became a SEAL. I suspect both of us are disappointments to him, but considering what a womanizing asshole he is, it's not that big a deal. But you said yourself, family's important, Stanton snorted. He's not family, he's just a sperm donor. Damn, I guess the Beatles were right. Money can't buy love. Her family hadn't had much financially, especially after her sister's disappearance, but Jamie and her mother had bonded until the cancer entered her mom's life. Ouch. Remind me not to go to your family reunions. He snorted. Remind me not to go either. He sighed. So, will you take the job and try to find Bethany for me? Jamie nodded and held out her hand. Yes, sir. I'm happy to take the job. If you'll follow me back to my office, we'll put it in writing so we both know what's what. All right. That's the beginning of their partnership and, possible love affair. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this little reading of RIMSHOT'S Hard Target, Bad Boys of Beta Squad, book number 2, and I will catch you later. Bye.